Today, December the 6th, is St. Nicholas's Day. It is a festival for children in many countries around Europe and is related to the surviving legends of St. Nicholas, a 3rd century saint who became the inspiration for Father Christmas. Raised as a devout Christian, St. Nicholas sold all of his possessions and gave money to the poor. He is the patron saint of children, and it is probably for this reason that, in England, the boy bishop was elected on this day. The boy bishop was the name given to a custom in the Middle Ages, whereby a boy was chosen, for example, from among cathedral choristers, to be the bishop. I feel very humbled, very privileged, and if not rather nervous, to have been voted this year to stand here before you today as Chorister Bishop and take today's sermon, instead of our own very own Bishop Nicholas. It is with St. Nicholas in mind that I started thinking about what I should talk about today. And after reading about him and all of his actions, I thought that kindness was a theme that underpinned everything that he did. This year has been a roller coaster of a year. We could have never predicted that we would have been hit with a worldwide pandemic. It has caused much suffering throughout the whole world, and the enforced lockdown measures have meant that our world has been turned upside down. It will take a long time to go back to the normal that we once knew. There has been much darkness and sadness during this time too. We have had to think about illness, death, and even the loss of loved ones. Many have experienced this firsthand. Moreover, there has been much loneliness, hardship, poverty, inequality, exploitation, and mistreatment that some have also had to endure. All of us have lost the freedom that we once so readily took for granted. However, we can take away a lot of positive things from this time. For instance, we have had time to reflect on our lives. We have had to adjust to a slower pace of life. With this time, we have been able to think about the things that are important to us, like our physical and mental health and our loved ones. Despite all the suffering attached to COVID-19, we have been able to appreciate and enjoy the simple things in life, like spending time with our families, appreciating and enjoying the great outdoors and the beautiful world around us. We have had time to reassess our values. For example, we have been able to relish being able to go for a walk. It is easy to see how we have ignored the simple pleasures in life, like being outside, and how we have taken for granted our beautiful planet and the people that we love. With lockdown, industries have shut, and travel has been dramatically reduced. It has been possible for us to see just what an impact we have had to our planet, and how, in an instant, what a difference we have made and can make to the effects of global warming. We have had to think about alternative modes of transport, such as walking and cycling, and through these we have seen how exercise can improve our health. With lockdown, inequality has also been highlighted, whether it be on a global, national, regional, geographical, cultural, educational, or economic level. Inequalities have been magnified. Children in the UK have had very different experiences through this time, and often inequality has been reinforced. Simple things like free school meals and education for all have been unable to be taken for granted anymore. We now see the great value that these have always had. Not only has global warming been highlighted during this pandemic, but also the movement Black Lives Matter has drawn our attention to the injustice that has been going on for a long time now and that needs addressing. Nelson Mandela spent his life opposing racial inequality. Martin Luther King said that hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. It is great that the cathedral is now open. We can appreciate that sense of community again, either watching the services virtually or attending them and praying in them. As a chorister, this community has been a very important part of my life for the last 5 years. I will be very sad when I must move on. This sense of community, the love and care that it provides, is what we all need currently. God sent his Son to show us how to live our lives. Perhaps through all of our suffering and pain comes enlightenment to rebalance and show us what is important in life. This has been a tough time for us all, but many important issues have been learned and put into the spotlight. The only way to get us through this awful time is to be kind to one another, to appreciate one another, and to love one another. We should not judge people on the way they look, but the people they are. So be kind, just like St. Nicholas. There have been many acts of kindness to celebrate recently, whether it be our NHS staff and key workers who have been working tirelessly to care for us all. Simple acts of everyone coming together as a community to clap for them every evening was a simple act of kindness and appreciation for all their hard work. Parents, I'm sure you remember when your child was younger and you used to read them bedtime stories, how when they were asleep, you would creep out of their room, trying not to wake them, otherwise they would start crying. When you, yourself, just wanted some sleep. One of my favourite books that I enjoyed having read to me when I was younger was Paddington Bear. I think we should all be more like Paddington, as Paddington embodies everything that there is in being friendly. For example, it is quoted that young Mr. Brown has a habit of bringing people closer together. He is always well-meaning. He was always the first to offer his services, almost always with a disastrous result. Paddington is always helpful. Willing paws make light work, as Paddington reminds us. It is always important to be grateful. He tells us that his Aunt Lucy taught him to count his blessings. It's the first thing that she does when she wakes up in the morning. She says 9 times out of 10, you have more than you think you have. He goes on to tell us that his Aunt Lucy always taught him to be polite, to say please and thank you, and when I'm out shopping to raise my hat whenever I meet someone that I know. Finally, Paddington prides himself on always being positive. He is also described as a surprising bear with a strong sense of right and wrong. My mum gave me a book for my birthday, How to Be More Like Paddington, a book of kindness. In summary, I think if we can always be more like Paddington, friendly, well-meaning, helpful, grateful, polite, positive, with a strong sense of right and wrong, I think that we can all learn a lesson from him during this testing time. If we all did this, it would make the world a much better place. In The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Hound by Charlie Mackesy, it states that when big things feel out of control, focus on what you have and what you love right under your nose. The section from the reading of John. A new commandment I give you. Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another, reinforces this. Saint Nicholas looked after children and was kind to them. In the same way, Paddington Bear is one of my heroes too, because he is a kind bear. What do you think that Aunt Lucy would be saying to Paddington now? I think that she would be telling him to be kind to everyone. So, when you go to bed tonight and spend time reflecting on your today, think about what kind things you have done, and then think of what kind things you are going to do tomorrow. If we all do this, it will help us get through this time together and the days ahead. Amen.